Hi, I'm Beth.
And I'm Lindsay. Welcome to our Get Organized video series sponsored by Janome, Northcott, and ThermoWeb.
The new year is the perfect time to get your home organized, and this is our final Get Organized video of the year.
So we'll be sharing our last stylage storage projects, ideas for storing your fabric and tools, your organization personality, and the last block and finishing instructions for our quilt along.
So let's get organized.
So we're going to show you this last storage project, this cute wall hanging organizer. Beth's going to show you how.
Hi, I'm Beth, and today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable wall pocket organizer. You can store your stuff in style and match your decor of your sewing room with this project. First, you'll want to cut your fabrics, and all the detailed cutting instructions are in the download. Check the video description for that. So we're using the X's and O's line, which is this purple, and the Simply Neutral line from Northcott. So we have this gray, and that's going to be the back of our pocket, and the purple is going to be the front. So these are 10 by 10.5 inch squares, and we're going to put them right sides together, and we'll sew along the top edge, and that's the 10.5 inch side. Once you've sewn that seam, press the seam toward the backing of your pocket, which in our case is the gray. Now we're taking our piece of fleece, and this is 9 3/4 by 10.5, and we're going to put that inside our sewn piece and then fold that in half and press that. Line all those edges up really nice, and then we can add some pins in here. Next, we'll quilt the pocket unit. So this is just to hold all these layers in place, and we're just going to do an X from corner to corner. This kind of ties in our theme with the X's and O's line, and it just is really simple to do, just a straight stitch. So we're going to mark that first so that we can follow those when we are quilting. So we're just using our erasable marker here and just drawing a line from the corner to the corner. So we marked the back side of our pocket unit just because it shows up easier on the gray than the purple. And now we've got our walking foot on the machine, and we're just going to stitch this out. Next, to create the dimension of the pockets, we're going to create a pleat. So along the bottom edge, and that's the raw edge, we're going to measure over and make a mark at 1 inch and then at 2 inches from both of the edges. Next, you'll take your pocket lining, and this is an 8.5 by 10.5 inch rectangle, and I did match that fabric to the backing of the front of the pocket. And what we're doing is creating the pleat. So the way we found that it worked easiest was actually to line up one side, and we're just using some Wonder Clips here too. It just kind of is a little easier to maneuver around those. And then match up your line. So fold the 2 inch mark to the 1 inch mark. And then you can clip that. And then just make sure you're still lined up with the bottom of the backing piece. So same thing on the other side. Match up the side edges. And then fold your 2 inch mark to meet up with your 1 inch mark. And then clip that. And you can add a few more clips to make sure that this is nice and aligned, especially on the bottom where you have the pleats. Next, we're going to baste the pocket front to the lining. So we're sewing around the sides and the bottom, and we're doing a 1/8 inch seam on that. For a basting stitch, you want like a 4 to 4.5 millimeter length. That way, if those stitches show when you're finished with your project, you can pull them out easily. And we did find it was easier to start on the bottom of the pocket. That way your pleats get nice and even. So that's your completed pocket unit. You'll repeat those steps to make the number that you would like in your finished wall hanging. We're making 6. Next, we'll lay out our pocket units with our sashing. So we've got 2.5-inch sashing squares, and then the verticals are 2.5 by 10.5, and the horizontals are 2.5 by 8.5. So you'll lay those all out. We've already assembled the top part of our wall organizer, so now we'll sew the rest of these together in rows. So now we'll start sewing these together. And don't forget to change your stitch length back to the regular stitch length. So we've joined our rows, and now we can add our sashing strip to our pocket unit and join the rest of them together to complete our wall unit top. So we've completed putting the top of our organizer together, and now we're going to layer it for quilting. So we have our backing and batting, and we've cut these 8 inches larger than our finished top. And we've laid our backing piece down right side down on our table. And we're going to grab our spray baste from Thermoweb and then give it a light coat. And we're just doing half at a time just to make it a little easier. And then smooth that out. So if you get these little bubbles, it is repositionable, so you can peel it back and then smooth that out again. And then do the other side. Once you've basted the backing and the batting, now it's time to do the top of our wall organizer. Now that we've basted, we're ready to get started quilting. So we've put our walking foot back on our machine, and we are going to use the extension table. And this comes with the Janome 3160 QDC. So you take off the accessory case and then just slide on the extension. This just gives you a little more support when you're working with larger pieces. So we're going to quilt horizontally and vertically in our sashing strips, and we're going to just go right in the middle. So we've set up our guide so we can just use that to line up along the edge. Once you've quilted it, you can trim the edges and add your binding. Once you've added the binding, now all you have to do is hang it up and fill it with your favorite supplies. I love this project, and it's great because you can customize it color-wise. You can make it different sizes. If you just have a little skinny spot, you could just go ahead and make like one strip of the pockets. Yeah. So really nice to customize.
Yeah, and we altered the pattern. We think the original was like a 3x4 layout, but we made this one to fit the back of a door. So this was the perfect size for that. So really easy to customize.
And one thing you want to consider when you're adding your binding is how you would like to hang it. So this is a good time to decide you want to add a hanging sleeve or these hanging corner pockets that we added on here.
Yeah, and it's a great idea to do them when you're doing the binding. So, because you can just sew it right when you're doing the binding to hold everything really secure. The same with the hanging sleeve too. So you can just make sure it's holding everything so when you hang it up, it doesn't fall off.
And this is just squares of fabric, folded in half, and then you just sewed it in on the corners.
Yep, the raw edges go in the corner, and you just capture those, and so you have the nice folded finished edge on the outside. So easy. I just hung it with a curtain rod when I took this home, so very easy to just add to your space.
You could do a dowel. That would work as well. So we have some more fun tips for you, and these are from our readers.
Yes, so in our issues of American Patchwork and Quilting, we have our reader tips section, and then also online at allpeoplequilt.com/tips, we have a lot to look through there. So we're sharing some of our favorite storage tips from everyone.
Yeah, so the first one we have is from Teresa, and she says that she keeps her batting scraps in vacuum seal storage bags.
That's a great idea because batting can take up a lot of space in your sewing room when you have it. So to be able to vacuum seal it so it takes up less space is a great idea if you're storing a lot of it.
Get that really squished down and kind of take the air out of there. Yeah. And then our next one is from Chrissy, and she says she organizes her 2.5-inch wide fabric strips by color on pants hangers that have multiple rungs, like this one that Lindsay has here.
And this is a great idea if your strips need to go in a certain order because you can arrange them in the color order that you're doing, so you can kind of plan everything out on all the different rungs there.
And she says it's easy to hang in a closet then when you're done sewing.
Yep.
And then similarly, we're hanging, Marion hangs quilts from clothes hangers with the fronts folded to the inside. And then she says to easily identify each quilt, she labels a tag with the quilt pattern, size, year made, description, and photo, and then ties that around the hanger's neck with a ribbon.
Yes, so this would be great if you have a lot of unfinished quilt tops that you just haven't gotten around to quilting yet, because you can hang them on all the rungs so they're all nice and neat, and then you'll have the pictures right there so you can see, you know, like what quilts are there so you can grab them when you're ready to go. And then also you're protecting the top of the quilt so it doesn't get stains or dust on it, so you have the back out.
Yes.
So
Always a good idea to fold that with the inside of, or the top of the quilt inside. And then Hope says she uses clear zippered plastic bags used for packaging curtains and bedspreads, and she says they make great containers for quilting projects.
Yeah, so this one was from actually like a sofa cover we have, but you know, you get these for bedding and curtains all the time. They're great project bags. So we have fabric, cut pieces, we have some fusible interfacing, we have a magazine pattern in there, so you can keep all your supplies you need just right in that bag. So you know, when you're ready to work on it, you can just grab it and take it with you, and you can put a label on too.
This one even has a convenient handle, so you can take that on the go with you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna now share some great ideas about storing supplies. So Beth says, not this Beth, another reader Beth, I use a pedicure toe separator to store my bobbins. The bobbins stay wound and I can see the color of the thread. That's a great idea. Those are really cheap at drugstores, so you could pick up a bunch of those and just have them to keep your thread on your bobbins secure. Fran says, to keep track of smaller templates and specialty rulers, I use a large D-ring binder and zippered see-through pockets. Some templates and rulers come with directions and patterns, and those go in the pockets as well. Those templates and rulers can be hard to store because some of them come in really strange shapes. So putting those in a binder is a great idea, and a lot of them have the holes in the ruler, so you could just clip it in. Okay, Glenna says that when she purchases clothing, she saves the mini reusable plastic bags that hold extra buttons. The bags are the perfect size for storing several wound bobbins, and the clear plastic makes it easy to see the thread colors. So I'm sure everyone has some of those just laying around, and it's an easy way to just wind a bunch of bobbins before you go somewhere and take them with you.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, that's really nice.
Okay, Gail
Next one.
says when you run out of space to store your presser feet in the accessory box that came with your sewing machine, you can go to the toy aisle and look for clear plastic boxes that store toy cars. The openings are just the right size to hold sewing machine feet or spools of thread. So this is not from the toy aisle.
Yes.
It's more like a jewelry box holder, or like bead holder, but the same idea. Find something that has like little compartments and perfect for holding all of your machine feet. Okay, so Kathy has a great tip for storing her markers. She said to make fabric markers and Pigma pens last as long as possible, she stores them in a plastic bag in the vegetable bin of her refrigerator. She says the cool temperature and moisture keep them from drying out. That's a great tip. I did not know that.
So smart.
Yes. Okay, Marjorie has a great idea. She purchased a magnetic tray from a hardwood store to carry her handwork projects to her patio. It holds pins and tools tight, and if she drops anything, she can just wave the tray over the item and the tray pulls them up.
Yeah, this has quite a strong magnet in it, so that is really nice for needles and pins. And throw your sewing machine foot on there.
Yeah, it would be really great to just put right by your machine, and if you're changing your feet out often or your needles, you can just throw them right there and it will just keep tight in place, and you can switch things out.
Yeah, and then those are pretty inexpensive too at the hardware store.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
nice.
I think they were originally meant to hold like nuts and
Yeah.
screws when you're working on your
I
car.
think we have one of those at home in our workshop.
Yeah.
So another idea now we have is for stabilizers. Sometimes these are a little harder to store because they're a little longer and taller. So we've got some fun here, fun ideas. So Penny says she uses a gift wrapping unit to organize her stabilizers. So yeah, those tall like for gift wrapping rolls.
That's
You
a
do
great
under
idea.
the bed storage ones too.
Oh
would
yeah,
work
good
well.
idea.
And Denise says she uses a wine rack. We've got an example here. She says this works great for all rolled items. Fusible web, freezer paper, applique sheet. You can put batting in there, and it's nice and separated and easy to see what you have.
Yep. And plus, I would probably put a bottle of wine in mine too, just in case I needed something while I was sewing.
Yeah, emergency wine. And then finally, Tina says she uses a paper towel dispenser as a holder for freezer paper and fusible web. Both countertop and wall-mounted versions work.
I love
So
this idea.
handy.
I know, because then you can just pull it out, cut what you need, and it's still all
All
rolled
wrapped
up. I know.
Yeah, I love that. You could even tie your little scissors right on there so
Ooh,
that
good
you
idea.
always have it handy.
Good idea. I might have to steal this from my kitchen. Okay, so those were great reader tips. We always love hearing how you store things. So if you have your own, feel free to share in the comments. And now we're going to show you the finishing instructions and the final block for our quilt along.
Lindsay, I love how you added the cute button details and the embroidery to really just make that shine.
Yeah, and I also added, I used the serpentine stitch on the Janome to quilt like this rickrack look quilting across the quilt. But it is so fun to embellish any way you want. You can use all of your favorite sewing supplies and really make it your own so that it reflects your sewing space.
So adorable for any sewing space or room. You can put it on the door or hang it on the wall. I just love that.
Yeah, so now we're going to show you one more cute little project for your sewing space. It's a really fun pincushion that we're going to show you how to add these labels to it. So we're using Heat and Bond inkjet transfer sheets to make the labels, and they come in two different kinds. One if you're putting labels or a design on dark fabric, and one for light fabric. And this is really great. We're using it for labels, but you can use it for, making your own t-shirts, embellishing tote bags. I mean, there's a lot of applications for this. Just printing photos or text and adding it to your sewing projects.
Yeah, I think you said labels, but that would be great to just label, iron on.
Yeah.
Super easy.
So what you do is you print out your design onto one of the sheets, and you do not have to reverse your design at all, which is really nice. So you can use, Microsoft Word or any, program you have on your computer. And then we just sewed 4 squares together in a 4-patch design. We started with 3 1/4 inch squares, so that this finishes at 6 inches. So then we just you cut out your label design about 1/4 inch around, and you peel off the backing, and then you stick it, on your fabric where you want it, and then the transfer sheets come with a little pressing paper that you want to use, and then we're just going to press it in place.
And we've got high heat on the iron and no steam for this, and they suggest using 2 hands because you want a nice firm pressure to get that to stick.
Yeah, they also suggest rounding the edges on your design. This just helps keep it from peeling up on the corners. Okay, after you've done it for about 20 seconds, you want to flip it around and just do it from the other angle just to make sure it's really in place.
I think this would be so cute on our wall pocket organizer. So once you've figured out what's going in each of those pockets, you could go ahead and add the label, and you could do that at the end too. You don't have to do it when you're thinking about sewing, so you can just do it right at the end.
So now we have all of the labels on, and they're stuck in place. You just want to make sure it doesn't peel off. And now Beth's going to show you how to turn it into a pincushion. So we've just cut our backing fabric, which is 6 inches square. Just going to layer it right sides together. And then
we're just sewing a 1/4 inch around the whole thing.
She's going to start in the middle and leave a little space, probably like 3 inches, just for turning it right side out.
Just got to remember that, to leave that space for turning. Went a little bit farther.
This is just like a really great project too, because with all of the different needles out there, and even pins would be great too. It's hard to tell the difference between them when you take them out of the package. So we've labeled our pincushion with embroidery, binding, quilting, and sewing, so that we always know what needle is for what purpose, and we can put them back in the right spot when we're done using it, so that they're all organized and they're handy for when we need them.
And what did you fill that with, Lindsay?
So we used just fiber fill, just polyester fiber fill, which is the squishy stuff, but you could use any of your favorite pincushion fillers. I know a lot of people use like scented things like lavenders or crushed walnut shells or sand and rice, so whatever your preference is works great.
Yeah.
So you just flip it right side out and fill it with your favorite pincushion filler, and then just hand sew or machine stitch if you want the opening closed. Just a great way. You could separate all your pins, all your needles. Really cute. Really great idea for just getting those small things organized.
Yeah, such a great idea.
Now we're going to add labels to everything. Okay, so next we're going to share the 4th and final organizing personality. Are you a family-oriented Fran?
Week 4 is Family-Oriented Fran. Family-oriented Fran doesn't see the abundance of items around her as clutter, but as her best friends. The many personal items in her sewing room have special meaning, which makes her feel safe and comfortable. Because she is sentimental and emotionally attached to her belongings and projects, to keep from becoming overly cluttered, she needs to remind herself often that memories are not physical objects, but rather in her mind and heart. for Fran to be motivated to organize, she must start small and save the messiest space for last. Characteristics. She's attached to her heirloom quilts and may buy vintage quilt tops. Her grandmother's quilts are on display in her sewing room. She is first in line to get donations when fellow quilters are downsizing their stashes. Even if she hasn't used an item before, she truly believes she may need it someday. She doesn't decorate or organize her sewing room with items purchased at big box stores. Instead, she uses old furniture, bowls, hat boxes, or other family items to organize her space. Fast first projects. Pick 3 to 5 items in your sewing room that you no longer use and give them away. To make choosing what to keep easier, classify items as friends, acquaintances, or strangers. Give prime storage to friends and let strangers go. If you're running out of space to store or display completed quilts or other projects, consider taking a photo of the completed work, then giving the project to someone who could use it. Create a space to sew that feels like a retreat. Make it comfortable and fill it with meaningful things that will inspire creativity. For example, make a pincushion out of Grandma's teacup and saucer. Optimal organizing tools. Shopping tip. Show respect to the items you have chosen to keep by purchasing appropriate size organizers and containers that are made of durable materials. Repurpose vintage items or heirlooms as organizational solutions. Store fabric in an old dresser or notions in an old hat box. Decoupage family photos on a box you can use for storage.
So that was our final organizing personality, family-oriented Fran. We hope that you found some organizing tips based on your personality.
And we hope that you loved these projects we showed you how to make. There were some great ones throughout this video series, and we hope that they help you get an organized and stylish sewing space.
And we had so much fun sewing on the Janome 3160 QDC. Thank you so much.
And we loved working with Northcott's fabulous fabrics. They made these projects so pretty.
And of course, ThermoWeb. We had stabilizers, fusibles, iron-on vinyl, and labels, all sorts of great products from them too.
So we loved joining you for these last 4 weeks, and we hope that helps you get organized.
Thanks so much for joining us.